So, without further ado, will you marry me?
Oh my God! Of course, yes.
Yes. Why is that? My name is Jared Wilson, and from a man's perspective, I'm happy to share my journey with the hopes of changing these statistics for the better, while uncovering the challenges and opportunities with all relationships. It doesn't matter if you're single, in a relationship, it's complicated, you're engaged, married, or divorced. Let's talk about it. Welcome to The Walk. Hey everyone, welcome back to The Walk. Jared Wilson here with episode 4. We're talking about personal stress and conflict resolution. So building upon episode 3 on communication skills. So if you're still arguing, still feel like our communication skills are not working, Jared, we need to fix it. Let's talk about conflict resolution and stress, because what's most important is that stress from external factors can actually come into your relationship, and things that really have nothing to do with you or the other person could be affecting your relationship. So let's look at the facts before we get started. 35% of couples state work-related stress was a key conflict factor in their relationship, with money being the leading cause of stress in relationships. So that just shows flat out that work and other stressors outside of you can affect your relationship. The other one, as we already know, poor communication is the number one reason couples split up. We learned that in our last session. And then as well, 69% of all problems in a relationship are not solvable. So how do you live in a relationship? How are you in a relationship with someone where 69, close to 70% of your problems won't actually be solved? You learn how to deal with conflict resolution and the importance of it. Why can't they be resolved? Maybe it's a religious situation. Maybe it's politics. Maybe it's personalities. All of the above. Conflicts do arise. The better you can get at resolving them, the better your relationship will be. So let's start on the stress side, because that's something that's lighter, if you will. Stress is a big part of everyone's life. We all have our different stressors. So we're going to actually kick things off with an activity number 1 for you and yours. So we're going to take a piece of paper, and individually, you and your partner are going to write out the 4 most stressful areas in your life. 4 most stressful areas in your life. After you write out the 4, and it could be multiple things. It could be family. It could be fitness and health. It could be work. It could be personal goals. It could be financial. Whatever stresses you out, keeps you up at night. After you write those 4 down, you're going to actually mark next to each one, whether it's something that you can control or something you can't control, even though we all know you can control everything. And more importantly, where is it in terms of priority? So let's rank them from 1 to 4. What is the top priority of your stress? What is the lowest priority of your stress? You and your partner are going to do this. After you do that, you're going to list out what are these top priorities, the top 1 to 4, and you're going to discuss it with your partner so they have a better understanding of what those stress factors are and what you and your partner could be doing to help resolve those stresses, and what solutions you can come up with to get rid of that stress and help you get closer to those goals and realities that you may have. So for example, health. Everyone has health goals more or less. I want to eat healthier. I want to get in shape. I want to lose weight, whatever the case is. But for most people, that is a stress. It's the stress of, why does it cost $20 for a salad, but only $2 for a sandwich? Why do I have to wake up so early when I'm tired to work out? This is real stress. Write that down. Now, is that something you can control? Absolutely, you can control that. Now, work with your partner to say, okay, we as a couple maybe have decided going forward, we're going to work out together. We're going to eat greens with every meal. We're going to eat more fruit and put that in our relationship. We're not going to eat out and eat fast food every other day. Maybe those are the solutions that you guys can come up with to help work on that stress area for you. Maybe it's not a highest priority, maybe it's the lowest, but it's something that you can work through. Another stress could be simply, my family's crazy. And every time there's a problem between my cousin and my aunt, we're going to bring them together and I got to deal with it. They both call me. They're both mad. They're both yelling at each other and they want me to resolve their problems. That's not my job. Ain't nobody got time for that. Like, it's a real stress. What can you do about it? Maybe is that something you can control? Maybe you can't control the fact that your aunt, your cousin, your mama are crazy. That's just how they are. We love them for who they are. God bless them. But it's something that affects your relationship because every time they bring in their drama, you have to deal with it, which affects your relationship. So maybe you realize that, as difficult or hard as it may be, hey, I got to take a step back. The next time they call you with their stress and their problems, you have to say, I know you're bringing it to me, but what you really need to do is talk to the other person. Talk to somebody else, but I got to keep my peace. I got to keep my safe zone. I need to focus on this and what I have going on. And I can't continue to allow the problems that you have with someone else to keep taking away from my time and my relationship because I have to deal with you. The better that you can get aware of the different stresses that are in your life, that are in your partner's life, the better you can be at being there to support them through it. So, Kira and I are at a point now where we're in a really good place of I know what her stress signals are. She knows mine. So I can tell easily, okay, she's really stressed out with work. Let me see how I can help her. What can I do around the house that's going to make things a little bit better or take a little bit of that burden off her day and vice versa. The better you're at that, the better you can deal with it. Now, maybe you haven't gotten to that place. Maybe you don't even know what those stress signals are of your partner. And because of it, you're dealing with a lot of conflict. Maybe you're still arguing from going through the communication exercise last episode and you still haven't gotten there. So this is where conflict resolution comes into play. Remember, 69% of all conflict will not be resolved in relationships. How do you deal with it? You come to a resolution because you're two grown adults who can work things out. How can we get there? Let's work on activity number 2. We're going to 1, define a problem. What is the problem that we have? And be very specific. This is the problem that we have right now. This is the conflict we're going through. You and your partner are going to do that collectively. But then individually, you're going to list out the different ways you've contributed to the problem. Maybe you didn't start the problem, but you have some type of impact on the problem. Maybe because you were mad at what was done, you didn't respond the best, or you weren't open-minded using active listening or being assertive when trying to have the communication to resolve it. Maybe you said something that added a wound or cut a wound into the relationship that made it worse than it really needed to be. There's everybody. It takes 2 to tango. There's definitely more ways than not, if you really think about it and can be honest with yourself, that you can say, you know what? I could have done this differently. An easy way to know is that when you're going through conflict, the question you have to ask yourself and each other is, what you're saying, does it add value? I know that was a big thing for us, was we had to sit back and say, what you said, did that add value? If it didn't, then was it really needed to be said? Probably not. And so that's the easy way where you can realize and say, you know what? I shouldn't have said that. Yeah, I was being petty. Yeah, I was mad. I was being spiteful. Let me take a step back. Now list out what are the past attempts you used to try to resolve this problem. So what are all the other things that you've done to try to resolve this problem, but yet you still have it? After you do that, you two collectively need to brainstorm and say, all right, what are some different ways or new approaches, alternative solutions we can have to this conflict? Doesn't mean you're going to go with them, but what are the different ways? And what you'll probably come up with is a different list. And now you're going to look at that list and say, all right, that idea is not going to work. And the brainstorming solution can't simply be, you're going to do this, I'm going to do that, and it's all on you, it's all on me. It has to be a partnership. After you come up and brainstorm those solutions, you guys are going to, of course, go through them and agree on what's the feasibility of them and determine if those could be possible solutions to move forward. And once you can agree on that, you're now going to set benchmarks. So we've agreed on a solution to this conflict. Now we're going to work and monitor this over the next X amount of days. And you're going to set a time to sit back down and review how you've done when trying to resolve this conflict. And what's most important is this is as you're going through that period of testing out the solution, make sure that you reward each other for the progress you're making. So do a really good job of saying, hey, I noticed that you're doing a little bit better with this, or I noticed that you bit your lip and didn't say what you wanted to say, or I realized you didn't raise your voice in a situation when you normally do. Let people know you see that because it's important. Nobody's 100%, nobody's perfect. So just as much as you may have these conversations ongoing, you're going to have those type of problems that keep coming about. What I'm going to leave you guys with is just a couple tips to keep in mind when dealing with conflict and as well as stress. Most importantly, take a time out. Recognize what sets people off. Kara and I know that when we get into that heat of a conversation or conflict and it starts to boil, she knows that I'm going to be the type to say, all right, you know what? Let me take a step back and go find my peace so that way I don't go below the belt and I don't cross the line. So let me stop myself before I break through and say something I regret. She's the one who's going to want to continue to talk it through because she doesn't want to go to bed while we're angry. We have to find a way to resolve that. And we're not perfect at it, but we're working at it. So take that time out, recognize that you need it. Hey, I realize that my voice is raising, your voice is raising. Let's take a 5-minute chill pill. Let's watch a show or something so that way we can relax and calm down, get the emotions out of it, and focus on what's most important. But don't table that conversation for another day. Table it for, hey, let's talk about it after the show or in 5 minutes when the emotions are back down and try to resolve it then. And most importantly, don't live by your feelings, live by the principles. The principle being, I'm not going to go below the belt. I'm maybe upset, but it's not going to allow me to get to a certain place where I'm blowing up and doing things that are not like myself. Keep that in mind. Take the timeouts and trust me, it gets better. You got to work at it. Nobody's perfect, and keep that in mind. Take the timeouts. All right. From now going forward, I appreciate you guys. This is The Walk, episode 4. Catch you in the next episode. Peace.